Good morning, day, afternoon, wherever you're listening to this. Welcome to the show. For today's show, I got an iPad review, and me being a diehard Android fan who's been spending months saying how much I prefer Chromebooks, Chrome tablets over an iPad. Now that I got an iPad in house, do I still feel that way? And then we go on to talking about, should companies be getting involved with this ban between Huawei and the government? There was a story that broke last week where a FedEx employee didn't deliver a customer their package, and that became headlines. So we're going to kind of talk about where employees and companies should stand in between you getting your package if you decide to buy from Huawei. Microsoft, look, they've been getting slammed by these Chromebooks. Well, they think they may finally have an answer for it. So we would talk about if that answer would actually work. Apple is ready to compete with Google, not just with phones. They dominated them with tablets. But there's another industry where Apple and Google may soon be doing battle. Finally, we'll be talking about Amazon. So Amazon have been killing brick and mortar stores left and right. Well, they may have finally found a way that they can make peace. And we would talk about this peace, if it would actually work, and if it's something for you to even consider looking into. But before we get started, let's go ahead and get through this intro real quick. So this is the neXup podcast. I'm your host, PC747. This podcast is dedicated to talking about consumer tech. It's mainly smartphone oriented, but I do talk about some things dealing with tablets, cord cutting, and just what's going on in tech whatsoever. So you can find us on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. And this is posted every Friday. What got me into this was, I started out being clueless to tech. I struggled trying to figure out how to use it. And when I picked up the Motorola Droid, it went from struggling to figure out how to root it to rooting it. And then once I rooted it, the next thing I wanted to do was help those who was having problems rooting their phones. Because I know the feeling when you try to root your phone and things are not going the way you think it should. You just want someone to kind of walk you through it. And some of the same issues I were having, I know that other people were having. And I was able to be kind of a voice of reason to kind of help them through that. As the rooting phase kind of started to die out and we started seeing better smartphones, I started writing about them, talking about where we're seeing smartphones going. And that writing, talking about it, continue to bring out this passion that I have for this consumer tech in general. And here we are, this podcast. Now, this podcast, I try to gear it towards people who not only are just fans of the tech, but those who are new to it as well. You may not understand some of the terminology that's being thrown out there. And you kind of like, hey, can you slow it down a little bit? And that's my goal, to take the technology and all these terms and what's going on and break it down so the average person, even whether you're new to the tech or you've been around it for a while, you can grasp it and understand what's going on. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, I had the show all planned out, ready to go, pre-production, all my notes set up, and right after my morning workout, I grab some breakfast. And a lot of times, while grabbing breakfast, I'll check out the latest Twitter and see what's going on. And then I saw some news bread broke. And I first saw it on 9 to 5 Google. So that's where I went. And when I went on there and started going through, it looks like we got a leak of the Samsung Galaxy 10 Plus. Now, how is that different from the leak we had yesterday? Well, Tech TV, we got the leak from, actually had a picture of it, like right there, as if literally playing with the phone. And I'm sitting there looking at this picture, and it's a close-up. You can't even mistake it for maybe, this may be some Photoshop job. No, it's a close up. It's up in person. You're able to take a good look at it. And yeah, looking at the picture, it looks nearly identical to what we saw last week, where we saw some leaks that came out from Price Baba and OnLeaks that pretty much showed a mock-up of what we expect to see from the Note 10. Now, this is the Note 10 Plus, and I'm thinking that what Google's going to do, Samsung is going to do, is when they release the Note, is maybe release it interior, similar to what they did with the Samsung Galaxy S series, where they had the 10 Plus, the 10SE or something like that. I'm thinking we're going to see like a Galaxy Note 10 and the Galaxy Note 10 Plus. A way where someone who may not want to spend as much money for the top end model can get in at a cheaper price. But for those that want to maxed out, get everything they can get, they will have a Plus model for them. So what got shown was the Plus model. And this thing looks nice, similar to what we saw in the pictures. So on the front, it's pretty much bezel-less. With the only thing you can see is like a really small hole punch, which is where the front-facing camera. On the sides, we can't quite see because we didn't really get a close side image, but I can't tell if there are buttons there or not. I think there will be buttons, as Samsung came out and said that they're going to hold off going away from the physical buttons to maybe a later model. So this year's Note will have physical buttons. Now you go to the rear. We do have all three of those cameras. Now, looking at the picture, I can't quite make out if there are going to be 3 LEDs from what I'm seeing right now. It's kind of hard to see. It don't look like it, but I'm thinking maybe when I see future pictures, it may confirm that. But we do have 3 cameras on the back in vertical pattern. And looking at this, I am liking the look of it. And I'm thinking if you are a Note fan and you're waiting to upgrade for your Note 8, thinking you're gonna like this. This is gonna be the device for you, and yeah, it's a nice look. And what I like about Samsung, what they continue to do, is continue to push the integration, innovation. And you look at the look of the phone as, like I said, this is the closest we are getting to bezel-less, outside of what we saw with the OnePlus 7 Pro, where they just removed all front-facing cameras and went with the mechanized camera. But this look with the front-facing camera, some people may not like that hole punch in the front, feel like it's an eyesore, but I think that'll work for a lot of people. It's easy to overlook. I don't think it will get in the way. Not of pictures, not of videos or anything. You could easily put something right there or make it where it's not an eyesore, similar to, or the eyesore that we were seeing on the Galaxy S10 Plus, So, yeah, just looking at these early pictures, I'm actually thinking that a lot of people are going to be excited about this device. Now, one other thing to note is, similar to the Samsung Galaxy S10, you don't see a fingerprint sensor. They likely going to go with the in-glass fingerprint sensor, similar to what they have on the Galaxy S10 and S10 Plus. So that may be where they're going, and that may have me asking the question. Now that we're seeing that Google is going away from it potentially, Apple, we know, pretty much went away from it, and Samsung went away from the rear camera with the exception of in-glass fingerprint sensors. Are we starting to see the fingerprint sensor die out? And we know they're going to still be around. With the mid-tier phones and the low-end phones, they tend to jump onto a technology late, but hold on to it a little bit longer. Many reasons being because of the simple fact when you have a flagship phone, they jump on this new technology where the parts are expensive because there are not that many of them. So they're going to obviously have to, gather the parts, but charge you more, and that makes the parts more expensive or the device more expensive. But as production starts to pick up, we start to get more and more of that component. Well, it drops the price of the component down, and that's kind of what we're seeing, with a lot of components that we're seeing with some of these mid-tier phones. So as the price kind of drops, the device or the mid-tier and the low-end devices start to pick those components up, and yeah, they're able to offer that to you and still keep the price of the phone low. So I think for your mid-tier phones and your low-end phones, we're going to continue to see the rear fingerprint sensor for a little bit longer. But I think some of these flagship devices are going to start to push away from the rear fingerprint sensor and go more towards similar to what Apple's doing with Face Unlock and with these in-glass fingerprint readers. And it is something that we've been asking for a couple years anyway, to kind of see the technology continue to evolve. And like I said, I enjoyed and loved the in-glass fingerprint sensor that I have on my OnePlus 6 when I had at the time. 6 Plus. So I'm actually wanting to see the technology go forward with that. I think a lot of people, as more people get these phones with the in-glass fingerprint sensors, they're gonna enjoy it more. Now, one thing I think Marquez Brownlee said in his video is, we want to see the technology grow where maybe one day, instead of having to concentrate in one area of the phone to put your fingerprint on, where you can literally put it anywhere on, in the glass, whether it be on the rear half of the glass or the glass or somewhere, and it'll be able to pick it up and detect that's your fingerprint and allow you to unlock your phone. But yeah, that's pretty much where we're at with the leak of the Samsung Galaxy 10 Plus. So I will post a link below of 9 to 5 Google. I'm pretty sure if you're a big Android fan, you probably already saw this already. But if you're not, I will post a link below. And I look forward to hear what your thoughts on this phone. If you're a Samsung fan, is this going to be your next device? Especially when you think the price is going to probably be close to around $1,200 to $1,500. Is this device looking like it's going to be a $1,500 device? And we will continue to have more Samsung Galaxy Note talk in the coming weeks, as we're going to probably see more information put out about this phone, more statistics and specifications and all that stuff to kind of continue to dice up and talk about. But let's go ahead and get into my iPad review. So as I said, I picked up an iPad. To be honest with you, I had not intended to do so. I was just, walking one day, just, decided to just get out, enjoy the weather, walk around. And in my area, we have a series of stores, a Best Buy, whatever. So I walked into a Best Buy and I saw that they had an iPad on sale. So it was a 6th generation iPad. It was like around less than $300. And I said, okay, let me go ahead and pick one up and play around with it, just cause. So I went ahead and picked one up. I'm familiar with the Apple system. I have a MacBook Pro over here. My family have iPads and Apple phones, iPhones. There have been many times where I picked up an iPhone and iPad and set it up for my grandmother before sending it to her. So I am pretty familiar with the Apple ecosystem. So I know my way around it. So again, I picked this up. I removed all of the Apple apps, the pre-installed apps that I could, and started installing them with the Android or the Google version, so that I had Google Play Music, Google Play Movies, the Chrome browser, Google Docs, Google Pay, Google Assistant. I pretty much wanted this to feel like an Android phone because, yes, I am coming from the Android ecosystem, and I wanted to continue on having that. And as I continue to go through that, that's one of the things I noticed about this device that I really do like, is the fact that you can remove pre-installed apps, and more so than I would say a lot of that you can do with Google phones. One of the big things about owning a stock Google phone from Google is that you can remove a lot of the apps that are pre-installed, except for when it comes to a lot of the Google apps. You cannot remove, so like Google Docs and some of that stuff, they will not allow you to remove that. Where Apple will allow you to move a lot of the apps, and you have the freedom to choose to change it out. Now, the way you can do that on a Google device is you're going to install AOSP software or Android open source. And for a lot of people, they're not going to be technically savvy enough to do that. Or they're not going to want to go through the headache because they don't want to get this pure vanilla Android where they got to build it from scratch. They want the choice to be able to choose what apps I want and what I don't, and not really have to play the game of disabling or hiding it. So where Apple, I commend them for, is giving me the ability to move a lot more apps. Now, yes, I got to still keep Safari and a couple of apps that I cannot remove, but it's by far a lot less than what I have on my Google devices. The other thing I'm loving is the standby battery life. I mean, it's amazing. I'm still getting notifications, but what I'm loving about the standby battery life is just the simple fact that, yeah, I had this device and been using it for my entire work week, using it for pulling up documents and setting things up. Now, I Apple charger in my bag, thinking I would need to charge at work. I'm looking at it and I'm still holding on to like 90%, 80% battery life. I went literally a whole week and at best maybe dropped 33% in battery life. And I'm sitting like, wow, this is something that, yeah, for a tablet, that's the battery life on this thing is amazing. And, I'm liking it. The other thing, this is one of the things I kind of picked on Google about, especially with the Chrome tablets. It's just the apps, man. One thing that Google sucks with when it comes to tablets is being able to integrate the apps to work well with tablets. And Apple got this thing figured out, and it's perfected. When I'm using Netflix, Google apps, no matter what, you could tell it was designed to be used for this tablet. It's not like what Google did, where they take a app and it's like stretched out to try to fit into tablet mode, and the stuff is just like out of order. It's not working like it's supposed to. It's kind of looking garbage. Now, this looks like it's supposed to. It looks like it's designed to work, and yes, it really signifies why Apple got this thing locked down. And just the layouts, the buttons, just everything is where it's supposed to be because it was designed to work with the iPad. It wasn't designed to work with an Android phone, and you forced it onto a tablet. And yes, now there are some things I didn't like. Some of it nitpicking, but one of the things, settings. For an Android person, I'm used to being able to go into the settings within the app itself. So for me to have to, actually get out of the app and go to Apple settings to make a lot of changes, for me, I felt like that was something that was like, all right, I would really like to be able to do this within the settings itself. And this is another thing I would say is kind of nitpicking. One of the things I will say I do like about with Google and Android is, let's say you scroll down your notification bar. You want to change your Wi-Fi settings. I literally can press on and long press on the Wi-Fi or the Bluetooth, and it takes me immediately to the settings, so I can change the Wi-Fi information or Bluetooth information. And I couldn't quite do that for the iPad. I actually was trying. I was sitting there pressing and holding, it wouldn't take me there. And in order to change the Wi-Fi or enter the Wi-Fi information, I actually had to go into settings in the Wi-Fi. So again, for someone coming from the Apple ecosystem, that is nitpicking because you guys are used to that. It's like, okay, you complain about something that's not really a big deal. But coming from an Android ecosystem, that is something I didn't notice, and something like, okay, it just kind of putting off of me. Not that big of a deal, but I just was so used to being able to do that on my Android phone. No SD card support. Now, I can't really just throw a lot of shade at Apple at this because all you gotta do is look at the Google Pixel phones. They don't have it either. But yeah, it'd be nice for something like an iPad if I can have SD card support, similar to what I have with a lot of these Google tablets and Pixel books and stuff like that. So not having that is, again, something I wish I would be able to have. Widgets. Now the widgets on the iPad, it does what it's supposed to, but it's not full-blown widgets. If you're coming from Android, you know what I'm talking about. The widgets on that, even though we don't use them as much anymore, the widgets on the Android phone still do something. Still add something. Still add a layer of information, and it provides more ability to do things and perform tasks. And I feel like you don't really have that as far as with the iPad. And there may be a reason for that. One of the reasons may be because, again, it's helping with performance, helping with battery life, as it's not taking away from, resources to power those. The home screen layout. And I think this is something that a lot of people complain about iPhones and iPads, so this ain't nothing new. It's boring looking. Yeah, you can probably change it. You can change up the wallpaper. You can move the icons around, but really, that doesn't change anything. I could put my iPad next to another iPad, and you can't make out the difference, with the exception of maybe, like, say, if someone changed their wallpaper. But if they didn't change the wallpaper, it's easy for someone to mistake one person's iPad from another, because of the simple fact they all look pretty similar. With the exception, or maybe like if you have your apps in a weird order, so a weird way where it's hard to mistake yours for someone else. But this is something that's different from Android. I could put my Android phone next to another person, and I can clearly see the difference because my wallpaper is going to obviously be different. I'm gonna have my home screen layout is totally different from anybody else's. It's clear that there's a distinguishment between my device and someone else's. The note-taking apps. Now, this is something that really, and not just note-taking apps, but apps in general. Apps on the Apple Store. It mirrors Apple. They're proud. I always say how Apple is proud of their hardware. They're proud of their software, and they seem to want to charge you a premium for it. And that is the case when you go to Apple Store. App Store. You go look to buy apps, and it's like $15 for a note-taking app, and it's nowhere near what I'm able to do on an Android version, which is free. And maybe I have to add in the additions of a in-app purchase, and when I do that, it's like maybe $3 or $4, and it just gives me a lot more that I can do. Because I was actually looking to maybe use my iPad as a way to replace my Chrome tablet. I say I've been using my Chrome tablet as pretty much my tablet I take to church, as it allows me to take notes and so if we're going over a sermon or something, I'm able to just use my pen to highlight the whole area, drag it into a note section, and start writing on it. And I wasn't able to. I was trying to do the same thing on my iPad and see if that could replace that. And yeah, when I was looking at the apps that were equivalent to that, I couldn't find any that was even worth it. And even those that was not even close, but the ones I even tried, like I said, were $15-$20, and it was just far from what I was trying to do. So, as far as note-taking app, I'm still, leaning towards my Acer Chrome tab as the case, as I prefer Google Play Squib over what is offered on the Apple App Store. But overall, look, I stand by what I said last year. If you're an Android fan and you're looking for a tablet, go nowhere else but Apple. There's no other place you can go. Because of the simple fact that Google have failed time and time again to be able to get apps to work well with tablets. And Apple figured it out. And Apple have put their stamp on the tablet game, and there's a reason for it. There's a reason why people go to them for tablets, because they figured it out, they got it right. And when it comes to tablet, Apple wins this hands down. And yeah, even if you are a diehard Android fan like myself, you can still pick the thing up, and it feels just like an Android tablet, because you are able to do a lot of things where you can remove a lot of Apple apps, put a lot of your Google apps on there, and you haven't lost anything. With the ability to sign into a lot of your Google apps, it recognizes that this is who you are. So when you add in more Google apps, it talks to each other, and yeah, you're able to kind of continue on like you own it or like you use an Android device. So with the exception of, you do have a more expensive app store they have and all that stuff. I think if you pick this up, you're going to enjoy it. You're going to love it. And, they do get expensive, as you get the pro models and all that stuff. But, if you're someone like me who just want a basic tablet, you're not trying to break the bank, pick up some of these older iPads, because Apple going to continue to update them. They're going to continue to get improving its software updates. So I think you're not going to feel like you're left out in the cold picking one of these up. So let's go ahead and get on to our next story. And I want to talk about FedEx or anybody kind of getting in the middle of you getting the shipment from Huawei. So we know about this Huawei deal with the government. Huawei is kind of having this in the trade war, in the middle of the trade war with China, where they're in the middle of that. Plus, Huawei did some stuff on their own that got them banned. So now, if you're someone saying, look, I still want to pick up a Huawei phone because I want to use it. I can care less about what Trump has going on. I can care less about the ban. I want to buy this, and no one should be allowed to stop me. And the question is, this is coming from the story that came out like a week ago, where literally a person bought a Huawei device and it wasn't delivered to them by FedEx because, they didn't want to get in trouble for violating the ban. And this is the question: was that company overstepping their boundaries, or were they trying to be in compliance? So let's just talk about this word compliance for a second before I give my opinion. When you think about compliance, a lot of companies, they are having to be compliant with a lot of federal regulations, regardless of how we may feel about them. Those federal regulations are in place, and companies have to follow them. The reason why, because they don't, one, they could get banned, they can get fined, and mostly, when it comes to violating federal regulations, it can be the difference between them losing a lot of money and them making money. So they're not trying to get in the middle of violating federal regulations. So they will comply with that. And then, reading up on kind of the things that was going on in the background, it looked like that was the case. The employee was concerned, and so was the company, about violating federal regulations. And this asked the question, should companies stand in the middle of you getting your device? And I think it's twofold. If there is a federal regulation that's preventing them from doing that, I don't think any person should lose their job or a company should lose money just to get you your device. If there's a federal regulation that's in place and they're not able to get you, let's say, a Huawei phone, then they're not going to do it. Now, what they need to do, though, is be transparent with the customers and make it clear that, look, there is a ban currently going on between the federal government and the Huawei. And, no matter how we may feel about this, we are not able to ship Huawei devices because of this ban. And make it clear to the customer so they know that if they decide to buy this device, do not choose FedEx to ship the device to you. Choose another company who may be willing to do that. Now, if there are no other companies, then unfortunately, you're just caught in the middle of the ban, similar to like other people. Now, let's just play the game that there are no regulations in place. There are no rules that are preventing an employee to do so. But let's say an employee may have a axe to grind. They may feel like, you know what, I don't like Huawei. I'm not allowing them to make any money. I'm not going to allow them to profit. So I'm not going to deliver this to the person that bought it. Now, in that case, then that's them getting away with a purchase, and they're in the wrong for doing so. It's like, you should not tell me what I should not be able to buy. Do not tell me, that you're not going to ship an item if I already paid for it. I paid for this to be shipped to me. It's your job to ship it to me, not get in the way of it, And this is pretty much where I stand on that. And I think this is more of a case of, as I'm starting to see more and more stories come out, where it wasn't the employee not wanting to ship it. They just didn't want to get in trouble because they didn't know where they would stand here. And, reading on The Verge, it looks like FedEx responded afterwards saying that, yeah, they're looking to sue the government because of that, because now they are put in a spot where they're in the middle of it. They don't know what to do. They're getting accused of refusing to ship packages because, they're trying to keep from violating any rules, and they're caught in the middle. So their way of trying to respond to that is, say, look, you guys put us in the middle of this ban, and so we actually are able to make it known to customers out there that this is not us doing this. We're just trying to stay out of the middle of it. We just don't want to get in trouble. We don't want to violate any regulations. This is why we're doing that. And this is obviously a way to kind of get ahead of this and saying, hey, look, if you don't get any shipments because of this whole Huawei ban, don't blame us, blame the government. Now let's go ahead and talk about Chromebooks and Microsoft. So Microsoft, man, they've been having, there was a period of time where Windows was a staple in every house. They were the kings, right? They were the software that people went to for tablets, computers, and so on. Now, Apple, we know where they stand. A lot of people that went to Apple was those that, wanted to spend the extra money, but couldn't. But then came along a company, Google. And with Google, they brought the Chromebooks. And the reason why Chromebooks are dominating now, because of the price mainly. You can pick up a Chromebook for nearly half, if not a third of the price of the average computer out there. And for a lot of the things that these Chromebooks are able to do, you're able to get away with a lot that you used to do on computers. And not only were people picking them up, then you start seeing businesses in the classrooms. And once Microsoft lost the classroom war, that was like, we got to do something about this. We can't continue to lose that. And then you had Apple come along and say, well, we need to kind of see if we can get a cheaper iPad out there to see if we can get our hands in the classroom. Let's see if we can make some money on it. And if you look at where we at with this war between this technology, man, Google is starting to pick up some of the cheaper, jump on board to these industries that want cheaper devices. Like I said, classrooms that, just wanting to find a way to get this technology in more and more hands. And then you look in the cockpit, more and more pilots are choosing the iPad because, again, it's the better tablet. And Microsoft is in the middle trying to figure out what are they going to be able to do. How are they going to be able to respond? How are they going to fight back? Well, it looks like the best way that Microsoft can fight back is to release a Surface tablet that run Android apps. Yep. If you can't beat them, use this technology against them. And that's what Microsoft may be looking to do. So I read this out of 9 to 5 Google that the next Surface tablet may be a dual screen Surface that will allow you to run Android apps. Now, before you get, excited saying, okay, so there's no Surface going to run Android, I'm going to have the Google Play Store. Well, slow down. Android and Google, even though they're kind of together, they're almost not a knot. You can run Android and not have to use a Google Play Store. A good example of this, other than running custom software such as ROM back in the day, is Amazon tablets. If you look at your Amazon Fire Sticks, Amazon Fire Tablet, the Fire phones back in the day, the reason why it looks so familiar, if you go to settings to Android, well, because it is Android. It is Android to the T, minus a Play Store. Pretty much what Amazon did was take what ROM developers have been doing for years and just mirrored it. So ROM developers, especially those like CyanogenMod, who back in the day said, I want a software where I don't have to rely so much on Google and all of their apps and all their Play Store. So I'm going to take Android open source project, which is available for anybody to use, and I'm going to build my own software on top of Android. And that's what they've been doing. So Amazon pretty much did the same thing. They build their software on top of Android because it's open source, and they supplied their own Play Store through the Amazon store. Now, obviously, more people prefer Google's Play Store over Amazon Play Store because a lot of people, when they pick those up, they say, okay, I like the Amazon tablet for being cheap, but I really would like the Google Play Store and a lot of the YouTube and stuff like that. Is there a way I can do that? Oh, yeah, I can root it. I can sideload it. Let's go ahead and do that. And I actually put a video up on how to do that for when I had my Fire tablet. So Microsoft is going to do something similar. They're going to follow what Amazon did. They're going to build on top of Android an Apple ecosystem that works on the Microsoft Surface. And they already have a Play Store, or I can say a Play Store. They already have an App Store. So they can, build or have an App Store that will power that. Just make sure to build apps that will work with the Surface. And the question is, will this actually work? And to me, I'm going to say, no. Because of the simple fact that this, yes, you're going to go ahead and try to go down this road, try to make it cheaper. And I understand that. But be you, that's the thing with, I think a lot of people, at least me, why I didn't gravitate to the Fire tablet is because it wasn't their own build. It wasn't their own design. It's like, you knew it felt like a knockoff version of an Android device. So like, if I'm going to pick up a knockoff version of an Android device, I'd rather just go ahead and pick up an Android device. And let me have the App Store that go with it. If Microsoft going to do this, I think they need to strike a deal with Google if they can to maybe run the Google Play Store and have more apps to choose from. Because I think to make this work where it needs to, be where it can work, if you have Microsoft working with the Google Play Store and it works well, and I think Google would be maybe willing to do something like that. Because we see that Google works for Apple pretty well. You go to the Apple Store and it's loaded with Google apps. And I wonder if it's not hard to do the same thing, to do the same or on a Play Store where it's open up to the Google apps and you are allowed to do that. Now, obviously, the thing is going to be if they can strike a deal to make that happen. And time will tell if that's the case. But for me, I don't see that being something that's going to be viable. But time will tell. Someone may pick it up and it actually may work and be right. Me personally, when it comes to these Surface Books and all that stuff, it's like you're pretty much trying to make it a Chromebook. And really, at the end of the day, we already have Chromebooks. Chromebook kind of working, But I will say this, in thinking about this, I said this won't work, but what I would like to see is maybe if Microsoft and Google can actually strike a deal and we can have the best of both worlds. One of the things that Chromebooks do well is in them being light, it allow you to do a lot of things, but it do not allow you to run a lot of programs. A lot of the key programs that people need to do their job, and that's where Chromebooks suffer. And Microsoft, they have the ability to run programs, but they don't have the apps and the stuff that people like from Chromebooks and Chrome devices. So what if we was able to see a device that was able to dual boot or run both? And there was companies trying to do that almost a decade ago, but Google and Microsoft stuck in or got in the way of that and pretty much tried to prevent them from doing that. And maybe they should open that idea back up and allowing companies to put out a device that can run both or dual boot both. That way, when someone wanted to run a Microsoft program, they can. But if they want to go into tablet mode, they can either dual boot or switch quickly into an Android tablet or Android-like tablet or Chrome-like tablet. So maybe if they can partner in a way that works for both of them, we may get a device that people really want. So let's go ahead and start talking about this 5G battle. It's kind of early right now, but people are talking about, well, we're starting to see some numbers. They're early, but we're starting to see some numbers. Now, about a couple months ago, a lot of people were jumping on AT&T because they were putting out these commercials talking about how, they're going to be the first to 5G, and they got 5G. It was running through the Super Bowl commercial, 5GE. And for the people who are not really into technology, they're going to see the big 5G and lose the part of the E part, and then quite understand what is this 5GE, what is this 5G evolution. And all it was LTE that was changed to show that it was 5GE or the next or lead up to 5G. It was a way that they can use as a way to advertise that they were bringing 5G. Similar to how they did with HSPA Plus back in the day, where it was a sped up 3G that they threw 4G on top of to kind of make money off. And people were kind of jumping on them like, hey man, you kind of, using this to take advantage of people out there who may not quite know what's going on and thinking that you guys are on 5G already and getting hyped up on all the 5G talk, and you know what you're doing, but you're kind of lying to people. And as we started to see early tests of AT&T 5G network and how it wasn't even faster than most people's 4G and even some people's 3G, they started taking a lot of heat. Well, looking at some early battles right now, it looks like AT&T right now is on top as they was able to pull 1.8 gigabytes per second on a Galaxy S10 5G. Now, why is that big? Well, we're expecting that when we get to 5G, we're going to be doing 1 gigabytes per second up, 1 gigabytes per second down. They're basically 1,000 up, 1,000 down. For most people now, you're probably getting 20 to 30, maybe 40 up, 40 down, at best. And on a smartphone, you're going to be able to get 1,000 up, 1,000 down. And that's going to be able to change a lot that I talked about. That's going to change just in general what you're going to be able to run, what you're going to be able to do, technology. It's going to open up so many doors. And if AT&T was almost able to double that. Now, Verizon, they weren't that far behind, at 1.3 gigabytes per second down on the same device out of Chicago. And then you got Sprint, who got 484 megabytes per second, which is not bad, but for a 5G tower, you're going to want that close to 1,000 and not that 500. Now, for a lot of people, 500 up, 500 down is still 10 times better than what they're running. So that's still good in general. But looking at this early battle, right now it's too early to even get excited about any of it because yes, right, you have very little people using it right now. So of course you're pulling these kind of numbers. I want to know what kind of numbers you're going to pull when there's a load on it. When it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon in the middle of traffic, what kind of load or what kind of speeds I'm going to get then? For me, that was why I left AT&T, because when I was in the middle of traffic or in the middle of a section at peak times, I was getting horrible speeds out of a certain tower. And I kept getting information saying the tower was down 1 minute, There's nothing wrong with the tower. There was no response to why I'm having this problem. And they didn't have any ways of fixing it. And I'm like, okay, look, this is where I'm living. This is where I'm having a problem at. And this is how much you're charging me for it. And their response was, I'll tell you what, well, how about you get off your grandfather plan that you love so much and go to this unlimited plan that pretty much gives you half of what you're getting for more money. And I'm like, so your response is robbing me. And so I'm telling you I'm having a problem with your network and you just want to rob me of more money. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and check out T-Mobile. And that was my reason for leaving them. And that's going to be the telling story for a lot of people. When we go to these networks and there's a load put on them and there are people pulling from all these towers, who's going to be the most consistent? Who's going to be the most reliable network overall? And the second question people are going to want to know, who's going to give me the better deals? You know, if your network is crazy expensive, but the second best network that's offering me pretty much similar to what you're already offering can give me that same option for a little bit cheaper, I'm going to jump on them. And a lot of people are going to look at that. So, yeah, when this 5G battle, as we're dealing with this, the answer is going to come from who's going to be able to provide the best network experience at the best price. And I think early on, even though AT&T is showing these high numbers, I think Verizon, have proven themselves for years. I think when it comes to consistency and reliability, they're going to prove to be that, and I think they're going to continue to show that. Now, you may not get these peak speeds that AT&T are giving you, but who cares? Who cares if I can pull 1.8 on the speed test if when I'm actually using my phone every day, if I'm not even getting anywhere near 1 gigabyte per second, if I'm almost slowed down to 400 megabytes per second, similar to what Sprint is offering. Because, yeah, you may be showing that off on the speed test, but that's not real world. And I want real world results. And we know Verizon, for the most part, have proven to be able to provide you the real world results. They may not be the fastest, but you're going to get some consistency. And you're going to get reliability. And that's why Verizon, for a lot of times, is the go-to for a lot of people who need it to work. Now, a lot of people have left Verizon because, when it comes to Verizon, you're going to pay for it. And, with these carriers, there have been this gap that's been broken as far as the difference between or disparity between the top network and the bottom network. Where Verizon was, being the top dog, and you have T-Mobile being a company trying to catch up. Well, the difference between the two now is very small, especially in a lot of areas. So it's easier for people to say, okay, I know Verizon the best. I'm able to jump onto this other carrier over here because I'm able to still enjoy similar speeds for what I need and, at a cheaper price to allow me to save money. But we're going to continue on looking at these 5G battles and continue to keep up with it. But as far as excitement, it's not anything to be so excited about where you ought to switch networks right now. Calm down. Allow 5G to roll out fully. Allow us to get coverage around. Let's see who had the better coverage. Let's see who had the most widespread coverage. Let's see who had the most consistency. Let's see who's going to offer you the better deals. And let's see how these carriers are going to handle this 5G. Are they going to allow you to continue to keep unlimited data, which I highly doubt. Because we saw when we went from 3G to LTE, we went from unlimited data to tier data. And I'm expecting them to do the exact same thing again. When you go from LTE to 5G, I'm expecting that to be tier data, similar to how LTE was. So we're going to have to see how that goes and how they plan to sell that to their customers. Now, we're talking about this battle between Apple and Google. And we know as far as the smartphone landscape, Google, for the most part, is winning this one. Mainly because of the fact of Samsung. But when it comes to tablets, Apple dominates. When it comes to computers, I can say Apple wins this one as well. Now, the other industry that we're going to see these two battle out is on the road, and that's with Apple buying a self-driving car company. And they're buying or bought startup company Drive AI. Now, we know Google owns a company, and they call it Waymo, which I made fun of a while back for this name. So now that Apple is going to be picking up and jumping into the self-driving car, this is going to open up a lot of ideas and ways that they can utilize the service. Because you know how Apple is. They're about their ecosystem. They want you in the ecosystem. They want you with the Apple Watch, with the iPad, with the iPhone, with the MacBook Pro, with the Mac computer, with the Apple Siri Assistant device that you can buy. So now you got a car that you can throw in there that it can all talk to each other. Man, you know they feeling this. This is a way to really get someone dug deep in. And they know they have a fan of people who are about that life. They're about all things Apple. And man, they're going to have an Apple car with the little Apple emblem on the side that's driving up and down and self-driving. And they're going to be able to use their iPhone to pretty much say, this is where I want to go, and rely on Apple Maps, which may be a problem with that. But and get to where they need to go. And that's going to be interesting. And because the whole mindset of the self-driving cars or automated vehicles, the shift on it is starting to change. Where a lot of people, they looked at these self-driving vehicles, they're like, man, I ain't feeling that. There's no way in the world I would jump on that. And yet, more and more people are like, all right, I'm actually willing to check it out and try it out. Because we're seeing, Lyft now having autonomous vehicles, driving up and down, using Waymo vehicles to take people to and from. And more people are saying, yeah, I'm curious about it. I'm willing to try it out. And we start to see more and more and more people jump on board. And I kind of want to use this to kind of jump onto the kind of positive and negatives about looking at something like going to full autonomous vehicles. Now, the good thing about autonomous vehicles is a simple fact that, yeah, when it comes to service, it provides you a way where if you can't drive because of a certain reason, you can get to and from. An example of this, you worked a long, graveyard shift. You've been out there since, night, you've been putting in long hours. And for a lot of people, they're not just putting in the regular 8 to 10 hours. There are people putting in 14, 16, 18, almost 24 hours just trying to get that extra, get the job done, really. Obviously they're going to get the money that's going to help with their family and the bills and stuff like that. But it's mainly because we got a job to get done, and I don't want to be the guy who just, bail out on my teammates. They're out there trying to get this job accomplished. So I'm going to stick in. I'm going to push, and I'm going to push, and I'm going to push. And you push hard. And then it's time to go home, man. It's like, man, I can make it. I just got to get there. I got to roll the window down. I got to drink this coffee and eat this apple, and I should be fine. And there have been many of people who have died, in wrecks because of trying to drive home being tired. I've been someone who, after working, graveyard shift, tried to drive home, and I remember, driving, and I went to go pass someone, and I remember falling asleep in the past, and I woke up, and thank God nothing happened. I think I ended up, remember waking up, made a pass safely, and I immediately went to the next exit, kept the car on, leaned back, and just like, all right, I'm gonna rest. And I remember being, how scared I was, and I'm like, man, I could have died right then. And, I know a lot of people who have been in a similar situation. And, unfortunately, there have been people who've been in that situation and end up, not coming out from this. So this is where self-driving or autonomy can really be a big help. If you're someone who are in that situation, you're working hard, and yeah, you're trying to get home and you'll fall asleep where the vehicle can take over, and you working hard trying to put in the extra hours don't have to end in a tragedy. It can end in a happy story where the vehicle takes over, it drives you home, and you're there safely. And that's something where the reason why I am for autonomy. The other reason is if you've been out drinking, partying or whatever, yeah, the car will be able to take over where if, maybe we can prevent more of these issues of drunk driving where, we see it on the news where somebody died, or some teen or someone is killed in a drunk driving accident, because the person had too much to drink and thought they can get on the road, where the vehicle can take over and say, okay, look, you're impaired, you're not driving properly, and we're not going to allow a tragedy to happen because you're just not able to take to control the vehicle. So the vehicle take over and it controls it so you don't have this situation. So these are the positive reasons where I think autonomy could work and where this can be a good thing. And it can open up the door for even these companies like Uber and Lyft, where people may feel like, I'm not quite feeling comfortable, especially with all the news that went out there of Uber drivers and issues with that. I don't know if I feel safe with that, and nor do I may feel safe with a taxi. But I may feel comfortable with a vehicle driven by a computer, because I'm not worried about, a computer doing anything to me. But then we got to look at the negatives. And the first thing first is, well, you have a robot that's controlling the device or controlling the car. And will the robot be able to make the decisions that humans are able to make? If it comes down to a situation where it's killing or running over an animal or hitting a person or making a decision, a hard decision between them and the person in the back seat, the passenger, what decision are they going to make? And people ask that question, what decision are going to make it and how are they going to be able to make it? The other thing, especially for now, when you look at ride share and how it's an industry that has provided, opened up the door for people to be able to start their own business, get extra money, and find ways to provide a service and do so, for a lot of people to get involved in. And you're going to be taking jobs away from people. It's something that, as much as I love technology, and I'm someone who, have been quick to, at times, to gravitate to the self-checkout lines, and, I'm all for just using technology and using your phone to do a lot of things. It's just the more you go to autonomy and using computers, the less the company has to employ people. And what you see with Uber and Lyft dealing with a lot of these drivers or people complaining that they're not being paid enough and they want more money, and Uber and Lyft, trying to get their stock numbers up, you got to think they're looking at this as, well, you know what? If I don't have to employ a person, if I can buy a vehicle that can drive it for us or drive on its own, well, that's one less person I got to worry about. And yeah, that means that's one less person working. And that is a concern, for people out there that, as much as we do want to see technology grow, I don't want to see technology grow to the point where it's not providing opportunity, where instead it's taking jobs from people. So that is a concern that I do have for that. So for my final story here, we're going to talk about, Amazon kind of looking to change their stance or their relationship with brick and mortar partners. So, Amazon, they're the place that people go to get a lot of their packages delivered. It started out, with books, and then it became with electronics, and now you can get shoes, clothing. Man, you get pretty much anything through Amazon. And now that they have one-day shipping, man, who's going to stores now? People are like, man, I'm good. I get off Amazon. And a lot of brick and mortars have been shutting the doors because of Amazon. So, as a way to maybe make peace with some of these brick and mortars, they're starting what they're calling counter. Now, what is counter? So let's just say you're going to go shopping, right? You go to the store on a daily basis. Instead of going to Amazon and hitting checkout and having it shipped to your house, you can have it shipped to one of those stores. An example of this would be Rite Aid, who are one of the companies that people have been talking about will be part of that. You can have it shipped to a Rite Aid, and when you go to Rite Aid, you can take your barcode that was taken from Google and pick up your device. Now, the good thing about that is, well, for people who have a situation where they live somewhere and you can't have a package dropped off in front of your door for fear of someone going to take it, well, at least you'll be able to have it somewhere where it's safe. A safe place to go pick it up, put it in your car, and drive it home. The other thing is, again, you already out. You'll be able to pick it up while you're out and doing your chores. That said, I don't see this working, me personally. The reason why people go to Amazon is because they want it brought to the house. That's the whole appeal to Amazon and Amazon Prime. I want you to drop off the package to my front door so that when I'm home, I can grab my package on my way in the door. It saved me from having to make the trip to the store. If I'm having to make the trip to the store to pick up a package, then why am I going through Amazon? I might well buy the stuff from the store. And yeah, for me, I understand what Amazon is trying to do, but I don't see this as appealing to me. Nah. And then the other issue, you're trusting these stores now to hold your package, and that's something that you want to trust. The last thing too, with stores, you got to deal with their store hours. So if you're someone, the reason why you went through Amazon is because, well, I don't have time to go to Best Buy. Like, for example, I need this cord, I need this computer or keyboard or whatever, and I don't, feel like going through all the traffic to go to Best Buy. So I wanted to come to my door. And two, if the time I would have had to go to Best Buy would have been closed. So if you have it shipped to your store like Rite Aid, and Rite Aid is closed when you get there, well, it kind of defeats the purpose. So it's like, unless it's going to be a 24-hour store, it's not going to work for you, because once the store closed and you can't get there to get your package, it's like you might as well have to wait for it to been delivered to the house, because now you got to wait an extra day for it to open and make the extra trip to Rite Aid to go get your package. And again, it goes right back to what I said. If I've got to go out there to go buy it from a store, then I might well went to some place like Walmart and pick it up, which is 24 hours, or a place like Best Buy or whatever I was getting, and just buy it from the store. So I understand them trying to make peace with the brick and mortars, but really for me, I'm okay continuing with the Amazon Prime where they deliver and drop it off at my door. That just works for me. But let's go ahead and close out the show for today. And I'd like to say thank you again for joining me in today's show. Please leave your comments below and your thoughts on the topics I covered today. Be sure to check us out if you want more content, as you can go to my website at www.neXup.com, where you can read articles and catch up on the latest and what I'm writing about on tech and my thoughts on cord cutting. I'll also be starting another podcast, around Stadia. So I'm a big fan of this whole movement of the Stadia thing, and I kind of want to follow it all the way through. And I want to, particularly dive into the ins and outs of it and get people up to speed with what to expect come November. And that podcast will be exclusive for YouTube. So, stay tuned to my YouTube channel to check out that Stadia podcast. Lastly, continue to check out this podcast every week on SoundCloud, Google Play Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or you can check it out at my website, neXup.com. Have a great week. And get the fireworks, get the barbecue, get ready to enjoy the upcoming 4th of July holiday. Again, thank you for taking the time out of your day to join me. You have a good day. I'm out.